I beg you, allow her to scream. Allow her to scream so that you may begin to heal, so that the family may lose its lies and discover its salvation in the hard truth. Allow her to scream and spare her an early death. Allow her the health of her rage before you lose her to the poison of her silence. Allow the truth to be something other than the betrayal you have always received it as. Allow it to be something that can do to you what it does to the one who speaks it. I promise you, there's no deeper experience of freedom than watching a long silence break open. There will be a before and after. That is how you know. There's what we've taken the decision to compose and what we stumble on. Of all our art, our music, our performances, it will be the one that gets us in trouble. The one we thought no one would notice. Something created mindlessly, guided by the belly, spoken from some place deeper than the heart. It's not a landing, but a collapse into a calling. There is art, and there is this. This is something else, and it will replace art as you've known it to be. In fact, it will come to replace almost everything else in your life, and it will stun you because it will arrive disguised in the appearance of everything you were taught about sin. And when all settles, you will look out into the world and feel that you have lost everything. But beyond everything, as you will come to know, there is still much more to lose. Years later, I've tried to recover myself. I landed in places that distorted my rage, that instructed me to breathe before I had the chance to scream. So many women are walked into a softer Islam before they've let out their screams against the one they were raised with. The scream is the necessary transition, the half-dead crawl from hell to haven. Try to enter a new chapter with the divine before living in the intimacy of your rage, and it's like entering the grave before you've died. The dying is what's needed to cross over to the other side. Otherwise, the soil, like religion, becomes a suffocating layer, rather than a soft space to hold your transition. Nizar Qabbani once said, "The woman is occupied territory, and so too is God. Not God himself, but our earthly grasp of him. The territory of his words are occupied by the hands of few who decided its meaning for all. They have conquered the parts of him that live in ink among us and claim dictatorship over his sovereign words. God is theirs, the prophets are theirs, the mosques, the minarets are shared history, theirs. Try to claim your artistic share of this religion. Try to claim your right to touch as they touch, to interpret as they interpret, and watch the crusade against that artist. Many brave women have attempted and succeeded in claiming their share, but the price was heavy. We have no permission as Muslim artists to heal through the symbols of our religion, to use what has been used against us as passage into our healing. The tools of Islam are theirs alone, so if no permission is granted, let us inherit it from the women who attempted this before us, who paid a heavy price and perhaps lessened on us our share of loss. Let us borrow, let us steal, let us force permission. There's no other way. Let us recognize that the romantic and lyrical defense used to protect our region and religion from the cruel gaze of the West is precisely what is silencing our own. Let's abandon this toxic romanticization in exchange for a far more generous truth. That we deserve the right to live, we deserve our sovereignty without the need to be without flaw. The artist shouldn't have to defend and confess at the same time. I refuse that burden. I can't pair my story about my father with a defense of him as an Arab man. I can't tell my story about the damaging Islamic school I was sent to while feeling the responsibility to protect a deeply misunderstood religion. It's not the people with bias I worry about receiving my art. It's the ones who claim to love so much the very thing I am trying to speak truthfully about, that they can't accept anything other than the story they hold. They use what is out there as an excuse to protect themselves from receiving something they don't want to hear. We are a people with so much to repair and acknowledge, and that doesn't make us any less deserving of life. Disguising our faults doesn't serve our freedom. And if our disguise, as you believe, protects us, what use would that protection serve if it leaves no space for the truth? I've spilled many confessions, many truths, and still, all of it feels like a distraction from what it is I really mean to say. My fear is a perversion of self-love. It is protective, and in its protection, replicates the prison that birthed those first fears and holds me captive in the same patterns that offer me a deceiving feeling of safety. Trust me, I still have said nothing. And already I've passed through the consequences. I've been shown, more than once, how ephemeral, false, and conditional my place within the family is. Compose, behave, leave your pen outside the territory of this circle, and we welcome you. Speak, but not through your skin. Scream, but not against us. Even our suicides are censored. When my grandfather took his life in the most public way above the streets of old Damascus in the busy morning, the ones who had not witnessed and not heard were told he had died in his sleep from a heart attack. I was only 19 when it happened, but even then, I could feel the rage that something was deeply wrong about this lie. It wasn't an act of love or protection. It belonged to the long thread of rejected truths, of a lie decided by one and forced onto many. What exactly are we hiding when we hide? How do you live when your stability relies on the delicate stem of many untruths? And when those lies collapse, as all lies do, because the truth will always be the strongest life force and remains loyal only to life itself, what happens then? Have we ever considered that there are many who rise against the world's injustice because they were powerless in rising against the people within their own family? That much rage spills into this world under the label of social justice that bears the multiplied screams of those who have not been given the chance to rise against their own fathers, their own mothers. Enter this world with your swallowed screams, and you'll find many causes to spill it into. Of course, I'm relying deeply on my reader to understand what I mean. It's not that we carry no justified rage outside our personal history. It is that without resolution, our screams get tangled and we lose the rage that belongs to our own. Adopted by a noble cause, we sacrifice the personal. And when we do that, we sacrifice the self too. It's safer, no? To scream in the streets among many, held in a collective rage, in the anonymity, in the protection of the mass. Try to stand in a room across from your father. Try to summon the same scream then. I speak this because I have lived it. I have found myself in the crowd spilling screams to the streets that couldn't rise, within the walls of a home that withheld from me the safety to do the same. After a day of yelling in the streets, I could go home. I lose nothing. But there's so much to lose when we carry the scream back to its original birthplace. I know now that in yearning for serious freedom through my art, I'm also yearning for my own. In insisting on the truth spoken about what happened to her, I am also asking for the same permission to speak the truth about what happened to me. In longing for her sovereignty, I am longing for my own. In attempting to rescue her from a false religion, I am trying to also rescue the woman in me from the same poison. In pulling her from the crowd of long beards and black robes in my writing, I am desperately searching for the little girl who lost herself to the same crowd so long ago. Who decided that the truth doesn't enter through the front door of our own homes, that the same injustice committed outside the circle of one's tribe is a worthy and noble cause to break one's silence against, but when committed within the tribe, among faces that resemble ours, it becomes the silence itself that is worthy and noble. The same confessional courage for one becomes a betrayal for the other. Among our own, the breaking of silence against the crime becomes the crime itself.